Reserve Bank Assistant Governor Luci Ellis is joining Westpac as the bank's chief economist, replacing Bill Evans. So what does this mean for the RBA? Well, independent economist Warren Hogan joins me now on the set. Warren, you've been a chief economist at ANZ you were a chief economist at ANZ for a long time. How tough a gig is it?
Yeah, well, it's very demanding. You got a lot of pressure on your time as they're big organisations. You've got a lot of pressure on your calls. You know, it's a forward-looking forecasting role, and there's always the pressure to get it right. And of course, there's a lot of travel. So it's a very demanding role, and it's a credit to Bill Evans, 32 years as chief economist.
Massive.
I worked for him for a couple of years early in my career. He was a mentor and a role model, and he's done a great job. And I wish him well. It's great that he's staying on as a senior advisor because that keeps him in the game, which he loves. Being in the game. He was a great forecaster, and it's a sad day for the market, so I wish him well.
What do you make of Luci Ellis joining the private sector in Westpac starting on the 9th of October?
Yeah, in the old days when you would hire someone from the Reserve Bank, the Reserve bankers would say, oh, well, the average IQ of both institutions just went up. I'm not so sure about that this time. What concerns me is that Luci Ellis was at the centre of a lot of the bad decision-making at the Reserve Bank in the last few years. As the head of economics. Head of economics, chief forecaster. The foundation of that bad guidance of 2024 no rate hikes was the economic view. There are other missteps, and it seems like a pretty good reward to get the top job at a commercial bank after that. You know, this performance from the RBA in the last couple of years has hurt the institution, and you could argue hurt our economy. And of course, Luci Ellis was part of that senior decision-making team. So anyway, we'll be watching closely. I wish it well. It's a big transition from policy making to commercial economic research, and we'll see how she goes.
And now the RBA, they've really lost two senior leaders in the last 12 months, Luci Ellis and Guy Debelle previously last year. Do you think this is going to leave a big hole in the management team at the Reserve Bank?
You'd have to think so. I thought Guy Debelle was an incredible loss. That was a very sad day for this country that he left because he would make a great governor of the Reserve Bank. But they've lost these people. But I think this just shows what's coming for the RBA. I don't think we should underestimate what this review's intentions is. And I think we're going to see a lot of change. Let's hope it's for the better because the institution, with the exception of the last couple of years, has served this country very well. So we'll just have to wait and see. But it is a big loss.
Later this week, Governor Lowe speaking in Brisbane at a business event. The speech, I think, is titled The RBA Review of Monetary Policy. This could potentially be his last official speech as governor. Yeah,
well, it could be. Certainly the last speech is knowing that he's not going to be governor because that announcement's due any day. And I figure that there's a good chance that what Governor Lowe wants to do is put on the record what he thinks should happen because he's not going to get much say in this. You know, the review is going to be implemented by the new governor and doesn't really start, till next year. So I think he's going to try and put on the record. What everyone will be waiting for, though, is two things. One, is he going to really talk about the risks to monetary policy, i.e. this risk that our interest rate has to go up to where the rest of the world is, i.e. above 5%, which is really relevant to markets. And then the other one, which the political people will be interested in, is whether he has a go at the government in any way, shape or form about their policies of the last 12 months and whether it's making his life more difficult. We'll have to wait and see.
He has talked a lot about improving productivity, though, which I think is a bit of a comments aimed at the government right now.
Yeah, to some extent. I mean, I think he just is in that line. Productivity is a longer-term issue, and I think he said, be careful egging on wages growth if you haven't got any productivity, I think is the line of reasoning. But yeah, look, the government's industrial relations, the way they're promoting wage growth when we've got this inflation risk, and of course the fact that not only the federal government but state governments haven't really done anything meaningful to help the RBA. I mean, they've been left on their own to fight inflation, and maybe he'll make some reference to that.
What about your prediction for interest rates? We obviously had a hold last week. How much higher are they going?
Look, I'm sticking with the view that they've only got one, at most two more, and then we'll get this soft landing. It'll be a bumpy landing, but it'll be that narrow path. It'll be short-lived and we'll recover. The problem is the economy is proving resilient. We're creating a lot of jobs. And every week we get new data in, it's looking like we're going down the route of these other countries. And if we have to start taking our cash rate over 5% in line with what we're seeing in New Zealand, the US, the UK, that's when the story really changes. So I'm worried that actually where we're going is above 5% on the cash rate.
Warren Hogan, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Ed.